Hello, Josh Levenhagen here. Welcome to your weekly family ministry devotional. As usual, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. We'll do announcements at the end. So, I was thinking this week just about the stuff that we're feeling right now and some of the things we're going through. I've been really blessed to go through this series that we did recently for our midweek series about recovery and emotional recovery, and I've been kind of digging into some of those emotions. One of the things that's been popping up for me is trust issues and their relationship to anger. When we don't have good trusting relationships, irritability is higher, our ability to keep our temper is lower because we are nervous, we're self-conscious, we are insecure when we don't have good trusting relationships. And imagine if that's how easily our relationships can be affecting our emotions here on earth, how much more can our relationship with God be affecting our emotions if we don't have a trusting relationship with God? And I couldn't help but think of the story of Jacob. So we're actually going to jump over here to Genesis chapter 32. We're going to start at verse 22, talk about a particular incident in the life of Jacob. I'm going to go ahead and start reading. I'll explain in a second. Jacob wrestles with God. Verse 22. The same night he arose and took his wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and he crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream and everything else he had. And Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. And when the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. And then he said, "Let me go, for the day has broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and prevailed." And if we jump down to here, verse 30, so Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." So this is an interesting passage. A lot of people take from anecdotes that Jacob either wrestled here with an angel, an angelic being, or with God. Some people even think that he wrestled with Jesus, that this was what was called a Christophany, an appearance of Jesus before. But honestly, I don't think it matters as much. What I think what matters is that Jacob openly engaged and struggled with God. I found it interesting how obsessed he was about getting a blessing from God, from this person who he thought was God or who actually was God. He was obsessed with getting a blessing from them. But if you remember, Jacob already had a blessing. He stole his brother Esau's blessing. His mother coaxed him into it, but he definitely did it. He impersonated his brother, and his blind father gave him his brother's blessing. He already had the blessing of the firstborn family in the family, and yet here he is still wrestling, still grappling for what he desires, what he thinks will make him feel approved, maybe feel success, maybe feel safe in his own personal salvation. We don't know why he was so obsessed about this. It doesn't say. All it says is that it was enough for him to struggle and wrestle with God himself all night. Jacob had trust issues. He had trust issues with his parents, likely, because of the how the situation went down with stealing the blessing. I guarantee you at some point he questioned his relationship with his mother and the role that she played in tricking their father and how that split the family apart. I'm sure he had trust issues with his father-in-law, Laban. If you remember, he worked 7 years to marry Laban's daughter and did a good job. He tried to live his life in an honest way. He was doing a good job. He's being very shrewd and very clever, but he worked and he put in the work, and Laban tricked him into marrying his other daughter, and then he had to work 7 more years to marry Rachel. Likely he married Rachel right away, but he had to work 7 more years. So he worked a total of 14 years for his father-in-law. It was insane. So I'm sure he had tons of trust issues when it came to people. And even with Esau, if you see in the next chapter, after this event happens, Esau, his brother, whom he cheated, he is terrified of Esau, and he does everything he can to bribe him and to beg him into not killing him or not taking his revenge on him for stealing his inheritance. And Esau forgave him a long time ago. Esau gives him the father of the prodigal son greeting, where he runs up and throws his arms around him and kisses him. So Jacob's got all of these trust issues built up, and I'm sure he doesn't have a good relationship of trust within himself because of the conflicted things he's done in his life. So I'm sure all of that fell onto having trust issues with God. Was God going to approve of him? Was God going to take care of him? Was God going to judge him righteously? And would the weight of his life be in the correct balance? Was God going to continue to take care of him for the rest of his life, especially since he was now getting ready to be reunited with the brother who he thought wanted to kill him? I'm sure he had a lot of trust issues, and he put those on God. But the thing that I want to get across from this story that we need to understand is that God renamed him Israel because he had striven with men and with God. He had struggled with both men and with God. There's to this day, a definite part of the Jewish identity is this idea of the struggle, of always having to fight and to struggle through life because of who they are and who they belong to. And we have been grafted onto the nation of Israel, according to Paul. We are part of that inheritance now as Christians, and struggle is going to be part of our identity. And I'm trying to get across that not only is it okay to struggle right now with what we're going through, but it's okay to take those struggles to God, even if you know you're wrong. Jacob was wrong on a lot of fronts. He did a lot of things wrong, and yet he openly struggled with God. God would rather have you struggle and wrestle with him in prayer and relationship than have you walk away in anger or just not say anything and hold stuff against him. God would choose engagement over disengagement from him any day of the week, as I'm sure you would with the people that you care about and that you love. So if you are going through a time where you are not on top of your relationship with God, and maybe it's because there's some things that you are holding against him about this time, take them to him, struggle with him. If you love God, if he has been a part of your life, then you need to understand that he loves you and he can take it. It's okay to struggle with your relationship with God, because struggling implies directly that you are engaged in this relationship, that this actually matters to you enough for you to fight over it. And that is okay. It is okay to do that. And you will receive God's blessing for it. You may not like a lot of the answers he has, as you saw in the story that he got his hip touched and fell out of its socket. We may end up being wounded by God, by some of the answers that we receive, the ways that we must wait and trust and let go of some of the things we're trying to hold on to. But our relationship with him is going to be stronger for the struggle. And we will receive that blessing that we are seeking after, that blessing of assurance that comes from having a trusting relationship with the person who is over our entire lives. So I really hope that speaks to you. I know it spoke to me when I was reading through my Bible this morning. So thank you guys so much for tuning in with our devotionals. For announcements, I don't really have much because I'm going to release a separate video about what we're doing when we come back to church. So go ahead and tune into that video. You're going to see it this weekend, sometime in the next couple of days. Please watch it. Be informed. Make decisions about what you guys want to do. We have kind of a pretty solid plan in place about what we're doing when we come back to church. So go ahead and tune into that video, and I will see you guys for Children's Church live on Facebook at 11 a.m. this Sunday, as well as live on Google Meet. Look for the link in the Facebook group. We love you guys. We miss you. God bless. Stay safe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.